Right. Yeah, I don't know. Getting on people up when a couple of guys that were up to no good started making trouble in the neighborhood. You moving with dad to your uncle to Bel Air. There we go. All right. That's a way to start the live today, isn't it? All right. So we are talking about. Okay. So we're talking about Hamilton and Jefferson today. And some of you, this is a very exciting lesson because, as many in America are right now, you are absolutely in love with Alexander Hamilton. Now, I might break your heart. I might break your heart today. After today's lesson, you may not think Alexander Hamilton is as cool as you think he is right now. Now, I'm not.
Can I just leave this stuff?
No, you
He's dead.
Okay.
Of course he's dead. Everyone's dead.
Now, I'm not gonna. You're gonna stand at ISS.
Oh no!
Okay. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Alexander Hamilton is a bad guy at all. And I'm not going to tell you Thomas Jefferson is a bad guy. Okay? They both had two completely different ideas on how to run the country. Okay? Which is why section 4 is called Conflicting Ideas. Please make sure you are on page 6 of the book. It is the Green Book. Green Book. Green Book, page 6. Don't turn to the gray book. You will be lost. Leave the gray books there. The next class that comes in has gray books. Yes. Yeah, you get me 2 years in a row. And if you're lucky, you could have me 3 if you fail.
Wait, I just think that's luck. See, I like you, but I'm not enough.
I do. I'm working on one.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I am live right now. So that means limit. No, you can't be in my live. I'm live. Yes. Why do you not believe me? Okay. All right, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Okay. Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson are two of the most brilliant minds that we have ever had working on the United States government. Okay? Thomas Jefferson, very in on what is going on at the beginning. 1776. Okay, we get the Declaration of Independence. Okay, he's very, very involved in that divorce, in that separation from England. Okay? Alexander Hamilton is more involved when it comes down to the war and the Constitution. Okay? They are both equally have their hands in creating what I think is one of the greatest nations, if not the greatest nation in the world. But that's just me, okay? America. All right? All right. You should not be. All right. However, even though they were so incredibly smart, they both had completely different opposite views of what they wanted for this country. All right. Now, I think that there's a part of it that got so against each other that it almost became a little petty. Okay. Almost to the point of like, oh, one of them would say the sky is blue. And then somebody would be like, it's more turquoise. Okay. It became a lot. They just did not like each other that much. Washington is the president, and he's got 2 of his closest friends and advisors that are pulling in opposite directions. Your book says that it felt like he was trying to steer a coach or a carriage with horses trying to pull in different directions. Now, it is said that Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson probably never even knew each other before they got onto the cabinet. All right, and it's possible. Jefferson was over in Europe. Alexander was over here. James Madison, he drafted the Bill of Rights. So the Bill of Rights you see up here on the top, and then the little pretty cursive old version back there. Okay. He actually knew both men and he thought, oh, they're going to get along great. Okay. Have you guys ever done that before? You're in a friend group and you meet somebody and you're like, oh, this person will fit right in with my friends. And then they get there and then like 3 months later, your friend group is broken up because it just didn't jive. Okay. Okay. That's what happened here. Madison brought them together, was like, these two guys were going to kill it. We're going to create the greatest government in the world. And these two can't stand each other. Okay.
What's his name on Creative Talk?
Madison?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. I think
Guy?
What?
Yes, they all Madison. Yes.
James Madison. That's his name.
He exchanged his name.
He's up there.
He's Loki.
Connor, tell him to change his name.
Oh, it's him. No, listen to
Connor, you're not
Why
helping.
is there like
He's dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no change in that. All right.
Wait, I want to meet.
So the biggest differences are going to stem from how they think the country should go. Now, what I have quickly found out is that these boards are not as big as they were in my other classroom. So I am quickly running out of space. Hopefully we will find another board. But I have created a side-by-side down here on the board, and I'm going to go through every point that I wrote. Okay? Your graphic organizer in your historical journal is literally the same thing. It is Hamilton versus Jefferson. So as I am talking to you, you're going to want to find which piece am I talking about and write down that difference, okay? Don't get left in the dark. All right. So they both have different visions for our country. The first one we're going to start out talking about is more along the economy. Alexander Hamilton has this idea that we should have a very diverse economy, meaning our economy, which is how we make money, it's our trade, it's our businesses. It should be multiple different things. It should be both farming and manufacturing. Does anybody know what manufacturing is?
I mean,
What you got?
like, okay, products.
Okay, kind of like a factory. Okay, manufacturing things like textiles was pretty big. Textiles is clothing, cloth. Okay, so they're taking a raw material like cotton or silk and actually making it into the fabric, into a factory.
Yeah.
So that would be like manufacturing. Okay, Alexander Hamilton was really focused on trying to have a very large economy because he wanted to make money and he wanted to have big trade. So he wanted to make American goods, as many of them as we can, as fast as we can, and we need to sell those all over the world. We need to have world trade. Okay? Thomas Jefferson did not believe in that. He thinks we need to focus more on domestically. We need to focus on the United States, us. We don't need to worry about making enough food or making products for countries. We're a brand new country. We need to focus on small farming, small agriculture. We need to make sure that the Americans are good by themselves. Okay? So stop worrying about other people. Worry about us. Because if we don't worry about us and we're not strong and we don't have enough food and we don't have these things and somebody comes and attacks us, are we ready?
No.
No. Okay, so there's a big difference there. Hamilton wants to sell goods out, and Jefferson wants to focus on domestic. Domestic versus international. Jefferson feels that they need to limit manufacturing. Okay, we don't need a bunch of these big businesses. This leads to our next thing. Hey guys, manufacturing, factories, things like that. Are they just plopped in the middle of nowhere or are they in cities? In cities. Okay, they're in cities. No, what's in the middle of nowhere? Farms. Okay. Okay.
Speaking terms of cowardly dog.
What are they called?
There are some of those now, correct. Okay. So most of the time, bigger factories, bigger manufacturing, that's going to be inside of cities or around cities. Why? You make the product, you can easily get it onto a ship. Okay. Soon it's going to be a train. All right. But you can get it out faster. All right. Hamilton thinks we need to invest heavily in cities. We need to make them bigger. All right. We need to build more things there. If you have bigger cities, you have more people. Is there any problems that come with more people being in one location?
More drama.
More drama, crowding.
Food.
Food's an issue. Why is food an issue?
Everyone wants some of it.
If you don't make enough money, they can starve. You don't make enough food. Okay, if you don't make enough, who's making the food? But if everybody moves to the cities, are there farmers?
No.
Can the farmers keep up?
Yeah. No.
Okay. It's not, it might not be possible, right? Okay. Jefferson also spent a lot of time in Europe. He's in London. He's been in Paris. And guys, these cities are disasters. There's rats all over. There's sewage in the road. Okay. You guys know there wasn't sewage back then, right? So you know what a chamber pot is?
No, and I really don't want to know now.
Well, I'm going to tell you. Okay. All right. Guys, you would go to the bathroom in a pot in your room.
No.
So if you got up in the middle of the night and you had to go poo-poo, you was pooping in a pot
No.
that was under your bed.
Please tell me they.
So it was in your room.
Please tell me
Like,
they.
in your room, it's in your room.
Okay. And then you'd open up your window and pour it out the window.
That's nasty. What if someone's outside your window being a peeping tom?
Guess what?
Ew.
They get poo-poo on them. Okay. All right. So these cities are not sanitary. There's feces and urine all over the place. There's animals all over the place. It's just a really gross place to be in a city because we didn't have these modern things. So Alexander Hamilton's like, we need cities, we need manufacturing, we need to get trade out. It needs to be a big deal. And Jefferson is going, I've been to these cities. They're gross. Let's not do them. Okay? So Thomas Jefferson says, no, we've really got to focus on rural. We cannot be expanding our cities. We've got to get our food together. All right? Because he's seen what poverty, hunger, okay, can do to people. Huh? He doesn't want to focus on that right now. He wants people to focus on being able to take care of themselves. Okay. Hamilton really likes big, strong central government. We'll get to that later, okay? That'll be a topic of discussion later. He wants a very strong central government that has very big business interests. So he thinks the federal government should have a lot of power and that they should help businesses as much as possible. And he believed that this would promote a very strong and stable country. He also believes not only with the large and strong government, but he also thinks that the federal government should pay all of the states' debts. So the states had a lot of debts from the American Revolution, and they owed that money. Alexander Hamilton said, look, you know what? We're going to wipe that. The federal government's going to take it over. Okay. Here's a question for you to think about. Have you ever owed money to anybody?
No.
Okay.
Never have.
So you guys are a little young. You may not have. Okay. Okay. So let's say you owe money. Colin with a K, you owe money to Abigail.
Why would I owe her?
What is just listen, it's just a scenario.
I love
It's just a scenario. You owe money to Abigail. Let's say she paid for you to have a snack at Snack All last week. So you owe her $5. Not when Miss K starts to sell snacks and Miss Smith. Yeah, you guys are gonna be bartering potty passes for snacks, I promise. Okay. So you owe her $5. And Connor goes, you know what, Colin? I'm going to take care of that debt for you. I'm going to I'm gonna pay that $5. Connor, I'm telling you what, if your mama ever watches these lives and she hears all these kids say Connor is mean, I'm gonna have to explain something. Okay. Connor is the nicest person I've ever met in my life. Okay. All right. So in this example, Connor goes to Abigail and says, hey, I'm paying Colin with a case $5. Now, if Connor needs you to do something, what's he going to do?
You owe me a favor.
He's going to go, hey, you remember that time I paid for all that money you owed to Abigail? I'm going to need you to do me this
Guess
favor.
what? That's why I don't let people pay my debt. I pay my own debt.
Okay. It's like the mafia. All right? Yeah.
Like,
Hey. It's like this, okay? Hey, do you remember that time I did you a favor?
No.
I'm going to need you to show up at the corner of this alley, and I'm going to need you to take care of something. Okay?
How did you know we're mafia? You sounded like Donald Trump.
I don't think that was the best. I mean, maybe one time my Donald Trump impression will come up, but I don't think that was it. Okay? All right. Okay, we went off on a tangent. Let's bring it back together. All right. So Alexander Hamilton at this point can sit here and pay the state's debts and then would be able to turn around and use that and go, hey, the federal government, we really took care of this for you. So we're going to need you to do that for us. Okay. All right. Hamilton supports that. Now, Jefferson believes in something completely different. All right. Okay. Nope. Hold on. Jefferson believes, you go ahead and put it outside. Jefferson believes in something called laissez-faire. Laissez-faire.
That sounds so French.
That sounds like Connor's.
It is French.
I'm so smart.
Hey, listen, guys, you remember this is live, right? And it saves. So if your parents ever watch it, they can probably pinpoint your voices. I'm going to remind everybody on Parent Square. I'll call her. I'm going to call her, as a matter of fact, my 5th hour, and just let her know. Colin wanted me to make sure that you knew specifically that we have a YouTube channel. Okay. So Thomas Jefferson's idea of government and the size of government is something called laissez-faire. Okay. It is French. Okay. Laissez-faire. All right. It means let it go. Hands off. Okay. He means that he doesn't think that the government should be super involved. Hey, my back table, I'm going to break the party up. Okay. I got some extra seats. Okay. It means hands off. The federal government needs to back up. The federal government needs to let the states run their state. And when they need us, We'll come in on certain things, but we don't need to be controlling everybody. We need to give the people in the states the freedoms to do that. We need to give freedom and independence to the nation of farmers and small businesses. Now, I'm going to use this as an example to kind of give you an idea of the separate state rules. Raise your hand if you are not from Louisiana. Where are you from? Ugh. Where are you from? Yeah, where are you born? North Carolina. What is up with all these Californians? Where are you from? Georgia? Maryland? Texas? Huh? Where's that? Florida. Okay. Look, I'm from Toledo. Do you know where that is?
Yes.
Where? No, that's Toledo Bend. Okay? I'm from Ohio. Okay. All right, hold on. Hey, okay. So every state has its own rules. Okay. Okay. So everybody has different rules, and we're gonna use speed limits as examples.
I love speeding.
Hey, every state has its own speed limit. Okay. Now I'm gonna use this as an example. If you are driving from Mississippi, from Alabama, I'm sorry, to Louisiana.
I want this desk behind me.
If you're driving from Alabama to Louisiana, you have to cross through Mississippi. Okay? And if you're on the highway, you're just driving along, okay? You hit the border of Alabama or of Mississippi, your foot better be firmly planted on the brake. Because the speed changes from Alabama to Mississippi like 15 miles an hour. Okay? And I know now what I need to do because about 10 years ago, I got pulled over. I got. Okay? I was going about 75 miles an hour, and that speed limit sign changed to 60, and I just went on my happy way. And there was a police officer right there in the grassy median waiting for me. So I panicked, trying to figure out what I was going to do because I had 3 children and 2 dogs in my car. Oh, I did not drive off. No, I'm not. But I looked at my son, Griffin, and I said, we have to do something. So as the police officer arrived at the window, my son started going, I have to pee! I have to pee! And the officer said, ma'am, driver's license and registration. I said, yes, sir. And he goes, why were you going so fast? And Griffin's going, Mom, I've got to pee. And I was like, he's really got to pee, and I'm trying to find a bathroom. And he goes, oh, okay. Go ahead and go on up to that first exit. Take a left. Just be careful throughout the rest of the state. Thank goodness. Okay. I was not one to pay a speeding ticket. Okay. Now, guys, could I have shown that police officer my driver's license that said Ohio, where our highways are 75 miles an hour, and said, yeah, but I drive in Ohio, so I can go this speed? Cannot do that, right? Because why? Okay, because we have different laws in different states, right? So the minute that I cross that border, it's almost like being in a different country, right? Because there's different laws. Jefferson wanted the states and the people to have more of the power. We're like, our country is named United States of America, right? That means that we're almost kind of like 50 little countries all inside of one. Okay? We have a governor, right? The governor is kind of like the president of the state. Okay? So he really wanted the states and the people to have more freedom. Alexander Hamilton wanted the federal government to have more power. Now, I think this is really going to hurt some of y'all's feelings, this next thing we're going to talk about.
Why are you looking at me? Hey, why do I have down like Chloe?
I've been giving answers. Do you have a potty pass? Huh? Okay. Can you do me a favor? Can you try to stop interrupting me every 5 seconds? I would appreciate that. Okay. All right. Okay. If you raise your hand, it's much, much better on my conscience. I've already told you to give me a potty pass. Why are you raising your hand now? Okay. The next thing is maybe something you guys weren't expecting out of Hamilton. No, that's enough, guys. Okay. The two also disagreed on who was the most appropriate to run the government. Alexander Hamilton thought the only people who should be running the government are those that are wealthy and educated. If you are not from a rich and wealthy family, you should not be making decisions about the government.
Guys, Loki, how was that fair? Alexander Hamilton was poor.
Very good. Very good. 100%, right? Look at Aaron Burr when he first steps out on that stage. How does he describe him?
A ragtag volunteer.
Well, that was later on. What was the first one?
Oh, poor?
Okay. Son of a.
Poor. Oh.
No. Oh, whoa. Hold on. Let's not act like y'all don't say much worse than that. Okay. It was true. Hey, his mom was a prostitute. That's in history. Okay? He did not come from a wealthy family. His wife was a woman of ill repute.
What's overbid?
I think we've already described that in 2 additional words. Yes.
Oh.
Okay? So, that's it's not a bad word. Okay?
There's worse words, buddy.
Okay. All right. So he did not come from money. Okay? He was an immigrant. Not that I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That kind of came out a little wrong. Okay. He came to this country with nothing. No money. Okay? He only knew what he knew because he was able to get books and read through. Okay? And I hate to tell you this, guys, there was nothing else to do. Okay? Back then. You was reading. Okay? Okay? He said in his songs, I'm going to get a scholarship to King's College. Right? He comes over here. He goes to school. But he was not from money. But after this, he's sitting here saying, well, I think only if you come from a wealthy family, you should be able to be in government. Jefferson doesn't think that. Now, Jefferson thinks ordinary people can be in government. They can do that. They can vote. But he does say it is important to educate yourself about things. Okay? Read a book. Understand what people are doing. Understand what the issues are. And I can agree with that, right? You should always do that. Okay? Now, let's go over this stuff real quick with Alexander Hamilton. He really wants to focus on trade. He wants large cities. He wants the president to be the most powerful person in government. And he also thinks the people around the president and in government should be wealthy. What does that sound like?
Golden.
Hypocrite.
Guys, he's only saying that because he never been to well.
Does it maybe sound like England?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't the people around the king barons, dukes, vicomtes? Aren't they always the wealthy and the rich that are around the president or around the king making decisions? So should we just go back to King George?
No.
Because that's what it sounds like Hamilton is asking for is a whole monarchy over here. Okay? Jefferson does not want that. Ordinary people can be a part of the government. Okay? He simply believes that they can be trusted. They just have to be well informed. All right. Now, one really good thing that Hamilton does, which there's a lot of good things that Hamilton does. We can't sit here and say one opinion of Hamilton versus Jefferson is better than the other because maybe they could have mixed some things together. Okay? But Hamilton does come up with the first bank of the United States. Ladies, have you guys joined Art Club? Because I think they have a meeting and it's not right now. Okay. He created the first bank of the United States. The first bank of the United States actually consolidates all of the money. Okay, before Georgia had its own money, South Carolina had its own money, Massachusetts had its own money. That wasn't working out. Okay, so they create the first dollar, and we now have a bank that creates the United States currency. Okay, now when we talk about understanding and being informed when you're in government, I'm going to give you guys an example. Okay, so schools have student government. All right, student council. And one of the most important things to know is you will vote for things as you get older. Okay? When you turn 18, you get to vote in the big federal government stuff, but there might be things throughout school that you get to vote for. Okay? Especially as you get into high school, okay? You're going to have homecoming votes, things like that. Okay? You still have to understand what and who you're voting for. Okay? One time in 8th grade, I ran for student council. I really wanted to be on it. I really wanted to be in the government side because I loved it. And I was running against a guy named Brandon. Okay? Everybody wanted to date Brandon.
Oh, actually, we like Brandon.
We don't like.
Brandon had 2 different colored eyes.
We don't like you.
Oh, I really want.
Okay, he had a brown eye and a blue eye. It was totally cool. He had 3 last names. All the girls thought he was hot.
Somebody stop this kid.
Okay? I was a weirdo. Oh, yeah, totally.
Do you like them?
Huh? No. No.
Were you weird because you didn't want
No. No, I wasn't
Do
cool.
you like Brandon?
I wasn't cool.
She's avoiding the question.
Because I was what some of them would have determined at that point very ugly. Okay? So, wasn't cool. Wasn't in with the popular people. Okay? I liked the drama club. Okay? I liked art class. I was creative. Okay? So I wasn't cool. Okay? Look, it was a really big school. Okay? So, like, I just wasn't cool. And it's fine. But I ran anyway. I was like, I'm running. Okay? And I was 13. Okay? I'm not trying to take over the world here. Okay? All right?
Sure about that.
And so, you know, I was wanting to focus on adding more clubs and, you know, let's add adding more clubs. We were talking about like trying to do more dances or extra, you know, things that we could bring in that were possible. Brandon's campaign ran on promising to put a vending machine in every classroom. And the girls loved it.
I love his ambition.
I would love that.
I love that for him, right? The ambition was great, okay? Was it possible? No. Did anybody else in my 8th grade educate themselves on whether or not this was possible? No.
They just saw a hot dude who said that he was going to put many.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
All they were thinking was hot guy and chips, okay?
Like me.
So guess what? I didn't get elected, okay? So guess what? Did they get their vending machines? No. Was he pretty to look at?
Yeah.
I guess so. I mean, okay? Look, listen, I'm going to tell you guys this, okay? Many of the guys that I thought were cute and other girls thought were cute, I looked at them on Facebook. We dodged a bullet, okay? Look. Okay? All right. So the point of that story is that, okay, in theory, Brandon would have been the Alexander Hamilton of the story, right? Okay, he had buttons. He was in a much better financial situation than I. He had better posters than I did. Everybody liked him. Okay, I was not that way. I was more of the Jefferson candidate, right? I wanted people to educate themselves, understand what they're voting for. All right, Brandon did not give them vending machines. We also did not get more dances and extracurricular activities.
Did they ever vote
Okay.
for him again?
Huh? I don't remember. We went to high school and our high school was big. I don't really know whatever happened to him. I don't care. Huh? Look, he could be the most wealthiest person in the entire world right now. I wouldn't even know.
Guess what? What if
Okay.
He's my dad right now.
It could be. Oh my gosh.
what if he got executed?
That escalated quickly. All right. Let's bring it down. Okay. So the point of, and that's just a little lesson to y'all, when it comes down to voting, it doesn't matter who you vote for whoever you like, whoever works for you. Just always make sure that you read up on what you're voting for. And that doesn't just include a person. There will be taxes that when you get older, You know what that means. Know what the tax is for. Okay.
Not
Okay, it happens. Vote, understand what judge you're voting for, okay? It's all very important. Always educate yourself. Okay. So the disagreements between Hamilton and Jefferson ultimately lead to something that you are all familiar with. Political parties. We will talk about that cabinet meeting. Okay. So George Washington was not a part of a political party at all. There was none. He was just George. Okay? But what happens as Hamilton and Jefferson start to create these different ideas, their friends start to join with them. Okay? If you thought Jefferson's ideas were right, you stayed on his side. If you thought Hamilton's sides were right, you stayed on his side. Now, all of a sudden, the country and the people in our politics are starting to break. They give each other a name. Alexander Hamilton's political party is called the Federalists. Makes sense? He wrote the Federalist Papers. Okay? Jefferson's political party, get ready for this, the Democratic Republicans.
Oh, we don't
Now, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense, does it? Because we have Democrats and Republicans.
What's a Republican?
Okay? The first political party was the Democratic Republicans against the Federalists. Okay? Wild. Okay? I can see some of y'all going, I don't understand what you're saying. Okay? That was the name of it. Okay? Now, we will not talk about it.
What's a Democrat?
Okay.
What's a Republican?
So, all right. The other thing to note is how they felt about the Constitution. Jefferson keeps a very strict interpretation. Very strict interpretation of the Constitution. Meaning, if the Constitution says you can do this, that's what you can do. If it doesn't say it, you can't do it. Or you can, like, so the Constitution says what the government is allowed to do. The government can do this. The government can do this. So if it's not listed in the Constitution, Jefferson says, you can't do it. All right? Hamilton is completely different. I will get to y'all in just a minute. Hold on. Hamilton is different. Hamilton has a loose interpretation. I'm going to give you guys an example. If I had a constitution here in the class and it said, you may not talk when the teacher is talking, Jefferson would say, you can't make a noise at all. Don't talk, don't laugh, none of that. Okay? When the teacher is talking, you may not do any of that. Okay? Hamilton would say, well, yeah, the Constitution says you can't talk when the teacher's talking, but it doesn't say you can't sing.
Just sing your words. Oh, so he's just finding loopholes.
Okay? Hamilton says there are, good word, loopholes. There are things that just because the Constitution doesn't say the government can do this, oh, but we can. That's building that strong, powerful government. Jefferson doesn't believe in that. Jefferson says, whatever that document says we can do, that's what we can. We're not going to move from it. Okay? So we get our political parties. They start to join in separate different parties. This is going to be a big effect on the next couple elections that we have. All right? So that is the end of that section. I will tell you guys, starting Monday and Tuesday, we have to finish this chapter Monday and Tuesday. So we're going to be moving a little bit faster, okay? But, guys, we've gotten through quite a few pages of this journal, so you guys should feel more comfortable on how to move forward a little bit faster. Okay. Now, I don't know what. Wait, why are we moving? We're not done. All right. Look at your table and tell somebody what Hamilton did for the United States. Yes, what do you guys think? The word liberal? The word liberal is more on the Democratic side. So
The First Amendment.
I don't know the exact definition of the word liberal, so I can't tell you from the dictionary. But when you look at liberal versus conservative, conservative tends to mean, more closed in. Liberal means to be like a little bit more free. Maybe the best way that I could describe that would be utilizing clothes as an example. A conservative person may cover up more things on their body. A more liberal person would be okay showing more. And it's more like a social construct per se, but I could tell you, liberal means maybe more open, more free. I just don't know the exact definition, to kind of tell you where that goes or where it kind of came from in government. Okay, tell somebody what Jefferson did for the United States or what Jefferson wanted to do for the United States. All right. Now tell somebody at your table, what was it that Hamilton wanted to change about our economy to improve it? What did he want to add in that we didn't have in before? No, talk to your table about it.
The guiding question I was Nicholson wanted only Jefferson wanted people to read or something to help with it. I'm probably just gonna the rest of this.
All right, and your guiding question that's at the bottom of your page, how did Hamilton and Jefferson disagree about the future of America? How do we start this? Okay, Hamilton and Jefferson disagreed about the future of America because, or by, and then you talk about what Hamilton wanted, and then you talk about what Jefferson wanted. Boom, there's your 3 points, right?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Can you use the chart at the top to answer your question? Yes. Now there's also a little section on the bottom. It is completely opinion based, so there is no right or wrong answer. You just have to write something. This is connecting to today. This is on everyone that has a graphic organizer on it. You are going to look at what we learned today and tell me, does it connect to today? It's yes or no, and then tell me how. So this question is, do we still see conflicting ideas in our government today?
I think so.
Yes,
I don't pay attention to the government anymore. I
Look,
don't pay attention to anything.
It's all your opinion. Do you think our government still argues with each other today? Okay, so then circle yes if you think yes, and then tell me why. All right, that is our lesson for today. Let's see. Our live went 43 minutes today. It was a little long. Okay, we had some interruptions. Okay, very similar to my 6th hour yesterday, which took 47 minutes on a 30-minute lesson. So let's try to tighten it up next time, 3rd hour. All right?
Did we have anybody join the whole time?
No, we didn't have anybody join it this time, but we have people that go back and watch it.
So nobody watching it.
Not it live. No, but it's much easier for me to do it live because it automatically records it versus me recording a video and then waiting for it to upload. So this way, it's right up right away. So if you missed anything, you guys can always go back to the stream. Yes.